with an illustrious career like you've had, you've been in the spotlight. And I have to ask, recently in the news, you've been pretty vocal about some of about the lack of stringent drug policy with the UFC.
True.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and where you're coming from there?
That's one thing. It's been misinterpreted, my intention in that regard. I never wanted to do anything negative towards UFC. And UFC, that's the company that made me who I am. And if I'm wealthy today, it's because of them. They made me who I am, the professional athlete, the image I have, the sponsorship. So what I did is I did it to elevate the sport. It was nothing, my intention was not to do anything negative. It was to do a positive thing, to elevate the sport. And after I came public with what I thought, because I said it was a big problem in the sport about steroid and drug performance, I received a ton of text message of not only fighters but also reporters that are afraid to speak. They're afraid to lose their job. They know that what is going on, but they're afraid. So I receive a lot of support, and I think it's a good thing. Because people are stuck and they couldn't come publicly with this. But I think it has something to do. It has nothing. I don't want to accuse a person, sure, because 20 other will come. I don't want to blame the UFC because it's not their fault.
Right.
The UFC is not their fault. It's the system. The
right.
problem is the system. There is no guideline. There is no. It should be testing. Like I was 2 days ago. I was with my friend Chris McCormack, world champion triathlete. He's tested. Like they can come anytime randomly to test him, sure, because he's a competitor.
Sure. And
same thing in judo and any other Olympic sport. Any other sport, they can come randomly to test you. Why not mixed martial art?
Right.
Because the reason is because it's a new sport. It's a new sport with no guideline. We haven't done the guideline yet, and I think it should be done. It will elevate the sport to another level.
Now, it's obviously athletes do it to first and foremost enhance their performance, right?
Of course.
But what do you see as the main concern with long-term side effects? That, as a physician, that would be my biggest concern. Is they want the leg up on that match, right? But long term, it's going to have, to me, a much worse effect on the human being.
Of course, it would be very bad. I mean, it's like smoking. You can smoke cigarette for 20 years, never had anything, or 50 years and live very long and happy. You can smoke for never smoke, have secondary smoke next to you and die after a year. Right. So it's hard to say, to predict, but of course you increase your chance of having problem. And a lot of these guys who take performance enhancing drug, they're very good now. They feel on top of the world, sure, for a few years during the right, time that they do their cycle. But once they're gonna stop, that's the problem. I don't want to die at 50 years old. Right. I don't want to die at 40 years old. I want to live long. I want to have kids one day. I want to play with my kids. Be an healthy man. I want to be like you, look, yeah, very healthy. No, but that's my goal. I don't want to be all messed up and crutches and have problem liver and all kind of things. Yeah. And it's also another thing too, is when you fight someone and he's using performance enhancing drug, is like a weapon. It's like if we fight together and I give you a knife, you have an advantage because you have a weapon. But performance enhancing drug, it's like a bioweapon. It's not a fair fight. I think you cannot be against the virtue in that.
Well, and obviously we've seen it in other sports, baseball, home run records, right? I mean, there's and so it takes away the fairness. Obviously, everybody should be on an even playing field.
Cycling is a good example.
Yes.
Recently, they keep the sample. They test randomly. They keep the sample during 10 years. So now the competitor are afraid to cheat. There's a lot less performance enhancing drug now. So if you take the winner of this year in cycling, he would finish 40th 10 years ago. So that just shows you how incredible it is. And the thing is, if you lose a race, it's bad for your business. It's bad for your image, your ego. But it's not like you lose a fight. You lose a fight, it's not only bad for your business and ego. It can be bad for your health, for your well-being. You can have cerebral damage. Right. You can be broken your arm. Because a fight is not fair. It's like you're fighting a human cyborg.
Right.
And the only regret I have is I should have done that a little bit earlier. Sure. This whole thing, I did it. I've seen a lot of things going on, and I didn't talk about it, and it started to bug me. At one point, I was like, I think he should come out publicly and they should make a guideline about that, you know.
Well, one other thing I have to ask you before we get out of here is the UFC world has been rocked a little lately with about the possibility of you retiring. Any chance you're going to come back?
I call it a break because I didn't want to say it was a retirement, and I didn't know. I have a lot of things that I'm working on right now, a lot of projects.
Sure.
And I've been, for a very long time, I've been under a lot of pressure. When you're, sorry, I just eat something. when you are a champion, you're the target for a very long time, and people is chasing you. And it takes a lot of energy because you have a lot of critic, a lot of expectation. And you have to be a role model all the time because, you know, that's the money business. You need to be a good role model, you know. And it's hard sometimes, you know. I have a lot of pressure. People challenging me all the time. Every time I fight someone, it's another one that is waiting and challenging me publicly. So it's a lot of pressure, and I needed take a time off to get out of the radar, get out of the competition. I'm always training every day. I'm always in great shape. So if one day I will be back, I will be back. But right now, I don't give myself any date.
Sure. All right. Well, listen, George, it's been great having you, and thanks for joining us at Hand and Wrist TV. And everybody will be right back.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.